Hello everybody and welcome to a brand new Elder Scrolls Online news video with me, Sherman. Today guys, and I know it's been a while since I've uploaded a video, big reason, the PTS was taken down, and when they did, it hasn't come back up. But we found out why, and it's a pretty interesting thing. I do want to give a shout out to Hack the Minotaur. He already covered this, but I do want to give my own input and thoughts on it. And it brings a lot of new things to light, which are almost mind-boggling. So first off, let's go ahead and talk about what this is. So Gina posted this as of today, I think it was, about this stuff they've been working on with light and heavy attacks, and this is going to change how the game plays fundamentally from what a lot of people have been used to. A lot of people have been into this whole light attack weaving for boosting damage, but it's not going to work the same way as it did before. Now light attacks are going to return resources, and heavy attacks are actually going to do high damage output. So this is really cool. And they also mentioned something called medium attacks. We'll go through all this stuff, but I did want to, cover this fully. So first off, let's just go ahead and read what they have to say. While our main focus and priority continues to be improving performance and addressing current issues on the live mega servers, we also have been carving out some time to consider ways to we can continue improving the game as it evolves and matures to ensure a healthy community environment. Today we'd like to share one of our topics we've been discussing internally, including what problems we'd like to solve, proposed solutions, and give you a chance to try some ideas and give your feedback. Combat in ESO is one of the things that truly separates our game from others like it. It's action-orientated, fast-paced, and gives a lot of freedom over its various mechanics and interactions. It is balanced not with ability cooldowns, but via ability costs and resource pools. You can't keep casting abilities or block roll dodge without proper resources to fuel those actions. We've found that players love the freedom, and there is always a button to press or action to take at any point in combat. There are, however, several drawbacks to this model as well. First, it tends to reward players for pushing buttons as quickly, as efficiently as possible. Players with high actions per minute APM significantly outperform those with a low APM, as they have better uptime of abilities, higher mitigation, much higher DPS, and can simply move around the battlefield better in both PvE and PvP. While we believe it's good to have a skill gap that promotes mastery, we also believe that gap, as it is currently exists, is too wide. That many people aren't finding satisfaction in the climb. Additionally, we believe the over-reliance on a specific mechanic, light attack weaving, leaves less room for play style diversity, including low APM options. This is particularly evident in veteran content and PvP. Finally, the concept of using light attacks for damage and heavy attacks for resources is quite simply unintuitive, especially for less experienced players. Now, one of the things that I've always said in the past, and I'll continue to say to this day, light attacks and heavy attacks, both, in my opinion, should return resources. Both of them should have a set damage parameter. Light attacks should do less damage, but you can do them more frequently, which adds up to higher damage. Heavy attacks take longer time to charge up, which does more damage and gives back more resources. This is something that they should have looked at a long time ago, because it is one of the reasons why so many people have resource issues in this game, especially when they switched this light attack weave rotation, and not only the game itself became highly set to this, but a lot of the meta pushed this really hard. And this is where that separation in players comes from. You have a lot of people who play the meta, who are very good at playing their roles, their builds, and can pull off incredible results. Then you have a lot of people who try to mimic those same things, but can't even come close to reaching the values and numbers these guys are reaching. I mean, these guys are reaching 70, 80K, and these other people are reaching 35 to 40K. I know, I'm one of them. So there is almost a 40,000 point discrepancy in damage due to the low AMP attacks per minute, or actions per minute, versus those who have really good hand-eye coordination and better uptime abilities, just like the devs are saying. And it does hurt the player base. Will this fix the problem? I don't know, but let's go ahead and continue on. And it says, we've been discussing ways to address these issues, and we'd like to get your feedback on some of the changes or both light and heavy attacks on the PTS during a special off-cycle testing period. These changes are focused on light and heavy attack damage and resource restoring capabilities. A summary of the changes are as follows. And yes, I will be making a post explaining my own thoughts on this and bringing my own opinion to it, saying that light attacks, because they can be done more effectively in a rapid succession versus those that are heavy attack weaving, there needs to be a good compensation there for resource return and damage output for both light and heavy attack players. For those who have low AMP versus those who have high. They don't need to be on par, but they need to be as close as possible. Alright, so now we'll go on down here and it says, these changes are focused on light and heavy attack, blah blah blah, restoring capabilities. Light attacks now restore resources, and resource restore is removed from heavy attacks. This is their mistake, in my opinion. This is the mistake they're making, is removing heavy attack restoration. Heavy attack should still restore resources. It should restore double the amount of resources a light attack does. And it fully charged, that's more of a medium attack as they call it later on. But a fully charged heavy attack should return 3 times the amount of what a light attack does. So 3 light attacks, as you're gonna see here, it says successive light attacks grant a stacking resource buff up to 3 consecutive attacks, maxing out the benefit without weaving abilities. So without weaving abilities, if you do 3 consecutive light attacks, you're going to get this buff that's going to give you a higher amount of resources in return. When you get those 3 stacks, a heavy attack needs to match that. This is just my opinion, because this way you have people who can play both light attack builds and heavy attack builds and can take perspective, action from it and actually gain something out of it. And that's really what they need to focus on, is how to give people equal gain, but also a more equalized damage output. Light attack damage has been reduced, and heavy attack damage is increased. Non-fully charged heavy attacks, also known as medium attacks, now have a scaling amount of damage based on how long you hold the attack. Up to a full heavy, then it counts as a heavy attack. So this idea of this light, heavy, medium attack combination, this is really cool. But you still need to have that resource return on both medium and heavy attacks, because even if you focus on a heavy attack build, light attack weaving is still going to be more popular because it's going to give you greater resources and greater damage output, even though you've reduced the light attack damage. All types of attacks now interact with off-balance. Light attack and off-balance targets result in even more resource return. That's cool. I like that. Medium attacks, medium attacking an off-balance target results in more damage. That is even just as good. But I think that they could still do the resource return on medium and heavy attacks. Heavy attacks, attacking an off-balance target results in more damage and the stun you are used to. This is awesome. This is what they need to do. Heavy attacks getting a stun, while the light attacks do the other stuff. So that's really cool in my opinion, and it's really going to add more to the gameplay. But I still think heavy attacks need a resource return. Same with medium attacks. We believe these changes will broaden the uses of light, medium, and heavy attacks for all players in this new dynamic. Heavy attack builds will be more viable, giving low APM players opportunities to compete in both PvE and PvP. High AMP players is still rewarded as the absolute highest DPS and requires a mix of both light and heavy attacks, interacting with off-balance as optimally as possible. So it sounds like they have a good idea, like I said, but we'll have to see. We realize these changes are big, and we're excited to have this off-cycle test where you can provide some very focused feedback. We'd like to emphasize the possibility of these changes never actually going into the game. We are simply testing and gathering feedback right now. The current PTS build you'll be playing is update 25 code with the addition of the light and heavy attack changes. This will give everyone a clear before and after environment between live and PTS to allow for better comparison. We hope you'll jump in and test. We are prioritizing feedback, blah, blah, blah. And then here's the patch notes. Light and heavy attacks have received multiple adjustments to help reduce the importance of executing them perfectly, as well as help each attack tailor themselves for gameplay they incur. For example, light attacks will focus on damage, but will restore resources to help fulfill their fast nature, meant to assist in builds that want to chain a consistent barrage of attacks. Heavy attacks will focus on pure damage that are made for slower builds dedicated to the act of pushing out larger numbers. General. All light attack, medium attacks, heavy attacks now scale with their highest offensive stat. This is great. All weapon-based light attacks now restore 200 stamina or magicka based on their weapon type. Martial weapons return stamina, which we all know what those are: bows, dual wield, two-handed, And then magical weapons like stabs return magicka. Werewolf light attacks restore 250 stamina at base. Using light attacks in quick succession increases the resources restored by its base up to a maximum of 3 times. This means normal weapon light attacks restore 1,000, while werewolves restore up to 1,250. Heavy attacks no longer restore resources. Okay, we know that, but I still disagree with it. Decrease the damage of light attacks by approximately 78%. I think that's a little too much. I think like 64% would have been good. Don't cut it in half. In fact, don't even cut it in half. Do like 44% reduce damage to start, then work your way up. That way you get more of a definitive, you're getting more definitive DPS variance between weapon types and stuff like that. Partially charged heavy attacks, also called movement, now start scaling at the same damage as light attacks and scaled up to a maximum of their respective cap to ensure you always deal more damage with a light attack. You always deal, more damage than a light attack, but never more than a fully charged heavy attack. Okay. Heavy attacks are now damage based upon their cast time and are built to always deal approximately 10% more DPS when weaving them with abilities when compared to light attack weaving. Below are the adjustments to the damage and cast times. Dual wield heavy attacks now deal approximately 31% more damage. Bow heavy attacks deal 12% more damage and reduce their cast time by 550 milliseconds. Bow heavy attacks no longer reduce your movement speed while charging. One-handed sword and shields heavy attacks now deal approximately 24% more damage and reduce their cast times by 150 milliseconds. Wow, that's crazy. Two-handed attacks now deal 62% more damage, and they reworked restoration heavy attacks to have 2 ticks of a channel and the final hit of damage to detonate the fully charged state. The first 2 ticks of damage are untouched, but the final tick does 238% more damage than before. Remove the 200 millisecond delay on the attack, and your movement speed is no longer reduced while channeling. The final hit of damage can now be dodged. Wow. Unarmed heavy attacks now deal 24% more damage. Werewolf heavy attacks deal 62% more damage. Volendrug's heavy attack deals 22.7 more damage. Medium attacks deal, okay. Inferno and Frost Stabs attacks now deal 12% more damage and reduce their cast times by 300 milliseconds. They also no longer reduce movement speed while casting. See, this is a great idea, this reducing the cast time. Lightning Staff heavy attacks now deal approximately 34% more damage on the channel portion, and the final hit now deals 190% more damage. They removed the 200 millisecond delay of the attack, removed your movement speed no longer is affected while channeling. Your final hit can now be dodged, and the bonus damage off balance enemies now deals 33% more damage for any heavy attack, partial or fully charged, down from 70% for only fully charged heavy attacks. Wow. No, partially charged heavy attacks no longer stun off-balance enemies, but fully charged heavy attacks continue to do so. Light attack off-balance enemies add 5 stacks to your restore, bypassing the normal 4 cap. This means light attacks and off-balance enemies restore 1,200 resources immediately, and it goes up to 2,000 total if you light attack in quick succession. Min Wounds has been initially untouched for this time being, as will well as Overload. Many items, set passives, and skills have received adjustments in order to keep their power levels the same after the changes to light and heavy attacks. Most of these numbers adjustments, but some have received larger redesigns to fit the shift to light and heavy attacks. Whoa. Empower. This buff no longer increases the damage of your next fully charged heavy attack by 2,500 rather than increasing the light attack damage by 40%. That's a huge difference. My god. Alright, item sets. Agents of Galloway and Perfect Aegis. These sets now grant Empower to 12 allies rather than only 3. The set no longer has a 50% chance to proc, but the cooldown has been reduced or increased to 2 seconds up from 1, and they fixed an issue where the radius was granting this bonus was not as large as the tooltip indicated. So that's a really good change to that set. Blood Moon. This set now increases damage of light attacks by 5,738 rather than 55%. They increase the duration to 10 seconds up from 5, and they increase the cooldown to 20 seconds up from 15. This, while active, this set reduces the amount of resources restored from light attacks by 50%. Kvetch's Gladiator. This set now increases your weapon damage against targets under 25% health by 1475 rather than increasing your weapon damage with light and heavy attacks against the target under 25% by 1800. That's actually a really good change. I will have to do some testing, but I do like that. Molag Kena. This set now grants Conductor, which reduces the cost of your abilities by 20% while active. But also reduces your weapon and spell damage by 511 rather than granting Overkill, which increases your cost of your abilities by 8% and increases your weapon damage. The proc condition still remains using 2 light attacks in a row, which are now used to generate resources. So the identity of this set has flipped to accommodate that playstyle. The reason for the large swing in this situation from 516 to an 8% to a minus 511 but 20% cost is because these ratios are now 1-to-1. Cost increase is additive with your overall cost, while cost decreases is multiplicative. This means decreasing the cost is far less effective than increasing them, resulting in a larger weight required when giving one or the other. Queen's Elegance. This set now causes your light and heavy attacks to reduce the health, magic, and stamina cost of your next ability used by 10%, and your fully charged heavy attacks to increase the damage of your next direct damage attack by 2610, rather than increasing the damage of your light and heavy attacks by 20%. Archmage. This set now increases the magic recovery to 369 for 10 seconds after dealing with a fully charged heavy attack, rather than granting 834 magicka whenever you fully charge heavy attack. Ulfnar's Favor. This set now increases magicka or stamina you generate with light attacks by 120 rather than increasing magic and stamina you generate from fully charged heavy attacks by 30%. Alright, class-specific stuff. Dragonite, Molten Armaments. This ability increases the damage of your fully charged heavy attacks by up to 3,000 rather than increasing the damage by 50% of your attack. Okay. Bound Armorants, this ability no longer increases the damage of your light attacks by 10% while slotted, since the ability provides a strong bonus and active. Yeah, that's true. Forceful. This passive now causes light attacks and heavy attacks to splash 12 to 25% of their damage caused, down from 25 to 50%. Tri-Focus. This passive now causes your lightning heavy attacks to splash 12 to 25% of the damage caused to that. Restoration. Cycle of Light. This passive causes your restoration light and heavy attacks to restore 1 to 2% of the missing magicka, with a cap of 100 to 200, rather than causing your restoration fully charged heavy attacks to restore 15 to 30% more magicka. Revitalize. This passive now causes your fully charged heavy attacks to restore 6 to 12% of their damage done as magicka or stamina based on the weapon type. This effect has a cap of 300 to 600 resource restore. That's actually really interesting. I'm going to have to tinker with it. Werewolf Pursuit. This passive now grants additional 75 to 150 stamina per light attack rather than increasing your heavy attack restore. Champion Points. The Lover. Tenacity. The Champion Point passive now increases magic and stamina restore of your light attacks by up to 20% rather than your magic and stamina restore of your fully charged heavy attacks by up to 15%. So this is really interesting to see them make this change and this adjustment to light and heavy attacks just for PTS right now. So maintenance on the PTS is back online, and you can find the summary this location. So it is back online, and it has these new changes. I will be getting on PTS as soon as I can, which will probably be in the next hour, to mess around with this and see how it feels. Because if it feels better and it seems more flexible to the player, this could actually be a massive improvement to the overall play style of the game and the playability of the game, because you're not just, now you can build for a heavy attack, heavy resource return through recovery, because every time you throw a heavy attack, you got to remember it takes 1 second, so you will get that return of resources, your recovery return every second, so you're still getting that. And then light attack builds don't have to build for as much resource return because they can actually sacrifice that resource return for more resource return from light and heavy attacks. So this is a nice balance and trade-off. And I see what they're trying to do, but until I test, I can't really give a definitive feedback. All I can say is, this looks good on paper. Let's see what it's like on the test server. I will be getting on PTS, like I said, and when I do, hopefully they have the US characters copied over. If they don't, it's still a European, that's fine. I have European builds. I have some builds I can play on the European side, and I can do some serious testing. But I do want to get in and test this because I do like this change. I do like how it sounds. Again, on paper, I've got to test it to see what it looks like officially. Now, if they can do this and everything works good, minus some minor adjustments, I could see this being added to the Greymore update, and that would really, really improve a lot of stuff for a lot of players. Because no longer would in-game be this idea that you have to play this like high DPS, really fast DPS rotations. You could play with some off, heavy attack builds and stuff like that, and they would become just as viable and optional as that other stuff. So we'll have to get in it. Definitely going to see a lot of testing from not only myself but many other people checking out these changes to see if it does help improve how the game plays. I can tell you this, 78%, this is a massive nerf to light attacks. But at the same time, there are other things that are going to help increase that DPS output, but we got to see if we can get them to adjust this and possibly even the amount of resources that are restored from not only light attacks but also adding a little bit to heavy attacks, because I do feel heavy attacks do deserve a resource restore. Maybe not as much as it had before, maybe cut that in half. because then your heavy attack builds could build for recovery, and your light attack builds could build for higher damage output. So you have those who are going to score more DPS with the higher DPS builds, but then you're going to have those who play the other way, who are going to have high damage output with more recovery in that playstyle. So this is a really, like I said, a really big change, but at the same time, it's a really interesting change. I really want to get in and mess with this, and I will be doing that in the next hour. So other than that, I want to go ahead and close out this video, as I always do. Hopefully you guys liked it. If you did, you guys know what's coming next. Go ahead and hit that like button. If you guys want to see more videos by me, I do have more videos coming. I have a new one coming out tomorrow morning that's going to kind of explain what I'm doing, like how I'm dealing with this COVID-19 outbreak, what kind of things I've been doing, and also to kind of give you guys a heads up on what's been holding me back on releasing some videos lately. Because I do have to tell you guys, I do have another medical condition that's come up that does affect my ability to record, make videos and stuff like that, because of, you guys all know about my hacking and coughing in the background. Well, there's a reason for it, and there's a reason why it got really bad there for a while, and it's still going to be bad, and that's why my video's been put off. But I do want to cover that in that video, and we'll get to that. But other than that, I want to thank you all for watching. Until next time, have a wonderful day, and this guy might see you in game. Bye.